Hey everyone, it's the Grumpy Meeple, and I am back again with my first Grumpy preview for Dungeons and Lasers 3rd edition. Um, this is a modular dungeon terrain set that I've been looking into for a while. They've run 2 previous Kickstarters, and the third one just launched basically an hour ago, less than an hour ago. And you can see they're already up to 150,000. I've heard nothing but good things about this system. Little background on myself and my kind of gaming habits. I play a lot of dungeon crawlers, like a lot of dungeon crawlers, too many. I'm going to create a video at some point that is basically titled, Why the Hell Do I Keep Buying Campaign-Based Dungeon Crawlers? Because I have dozens at this point. But I am primarily a board gamer, not a Dungeons and Dragons, DM or something, which, I think a lot of this campaign is kind of geared towards, literally right here, they're kind of referencing to Dungeons and Dragons. But I think this has a lot of potential for board gaming as well, particularly for dungeon crawl style board gaming. And so I want to get into it and kind of explain why and walk through this campaign with y'all. Another kind of caveat, I've never actually seen this system live in person on the table. I actually ordered a couple of sets a few days ago. So up until today, the pledge manager for the Dungeons and Lasers 2nd edition was actually still live on GameFound. And so I ordered some sets in the hope that I would get them prior to the launch of the 3rd edition, or at least during the 3rd edition campaign, to help inform my decision making, about if I really want to go all in on this system or not, because I'm seriously considering dumping a lot of money into it. But I haven't gotten that package yet. I haven't gotten my delivery yet, so I can't speak firsthand to the quality of it. I've watched a fair bit of content on YouTube about it, painting guides, and people just reviewing the system, and it's generally been very well received, and it looks kind of right up my alley. If you watched my review of the BCW modular storage tray system, you'll know that, I tend to prize stuff like durability, and ease of use, and I think that this system really leans into that, as compared to something like Dwarven Forge or something along those lines, which is likely to be much, much more expensive, much harder to store, and get to the table, just because of the fact that I suspect, there are people who have like rooms dedicated to their Dwarven Forge sets, or at least entire shelving systems. Whereas this system, as you'll see, because of the way the tiles interlock with the walls and stuff, you can snap it all down, break it all down, and put it back into the retail box that it came in. Which I wouldn't do. I would probably come up with a custom storage solution. Another thing you'll see a lot on this channel probably as we move forward is my wacky custom storage tips and tricks and solutions, because for games that I'm going to be playing often enough, or games that are sufficiently complicated, like Shadows of Brimstone, or Descent or something like that, I'll usually come up with my own storage solution that, I'm just using like Stanley 25 organizers. That's my kind of go-to storage solution. So, but we'll get into all that later at a later date. But for now, just know, like I said, I don't play D&D, but I see value in this for board gaming. And I think that that's something that they're not highlighting enough in this campaign and in their previous campaigns. And so I thought I'd throw them a bone and do it for them, basically. Because there's a lot of games that I think that this system could be applied to pretty easily. And I think it would really add to the immersion of those games to have this kind of 3D element to it. But let's go ahead and get into it. So they do a really interesting thing. So first of all, they do have an early bird. It's for this Nubble, whatever the hell that is. It looks like some kind of, you know what it looks like? It looks like one of the big abominations from World of Warcraft. Oh my god, why can't I remember the name of that raid? Anyways, it looks like a Warcraft A-bomb kind of. He's got the meat cleaver and everything, and kind of big fat and ugly. So that's an early bird bonus for the first 48 hours. They also were doing this really interesting thing of pre-campaign stretch goals. We'll go down the page in order here, and so we'll come across that as we go, I suspect. But I thought that was really interesting too. Like, I was following this before the campaign launched, and they were unlocking stuff already, which is pretty cool. In terms of your pledge options, you've got a number of different options, and you've got options depending on what region you live in as well. So you've got the Ticket to Woodhaven, which just basically gets you a PDF of their Adventurers Trail 5e campaign that they're building into this Kickstarter campaign, and then you get access to the pledge manager and notifications and such. They've got a miniatures only pledge where you just get the townsfolk starter set that we'll take a look at. They've got the village pledge, which is for about $100 US, which gets you a core set or 2 rooms of your choice, then an additional 3 rooms of your choice, the townfolk starter set or another room, then the stretch goal set, and the Adventurers Trail. And then you get some connectors too, the second edition of the connectors. They've got a dragon pledge, which just gets you the 7 dragon miniatures that they have. You can see one of them kind of highlighted here. They are pretty awesome looking. But again, for myself, for my type of gaming, not super useful because, if I'm facing a dragon in a board game, it's typically a named creature that I already have a miniature for. I'm not doing the kind of world building of a D&D campaign, but still really cool miniatures nonetheless. So if you want 7 of those, you pick the Dragon's Lair pledge for 120. Then you've got these United Kingdom only pledges, which is how they're dealing with that. I don't know anything about that, and I don't live in the United Kingdom, so I'm not necessarily going to touch on this super carefully. But, it gets you a pile of stuff, couple core sets, 7 rooms of your choice, etc. and so forth. And then you've got the town pledge for the rest of the world, which again, 2 core sets or 4 rooms of your choice, 7 times rooms of your choice, townsfolk starter set or another room, stretch goals, etc. And then going down the page, they do the same thing. So you go from basically town to city, just giving you more stuff, another core set, more rooms, etc. They've got one of those for the UK, and then a kingdom pledge a city pledge for the U.S. or the rest of the world, which you can see I've already pledged, so that's why it's not kind of in the list. And then they've got the really huge pledge, the Kingdom pledge, coming in at, for the UK prior to VAT, £416. For the US, $601. Kingdom pledge, 3 core sets or 6 room sets, 12 room sets of your choice. Get the Townfolk starter set, stretch goals, adventurers, connectors, 2 sets of the connectors. You get all the dragons, and then you get basically, it looks like most of, if not all, the add-ons that they have down here, and we'll get into that, but you're getting all sorts of stuff. Bridges, workable doors, pillars, probably, let's see here, street lamps, the stretch goals from the first and the second campaign, which I think there's a lot of value there, especially for board gamers, because, something else that has a lot of value to board gamers is just scatter terrain. So maybe not necessarily the walls, maybe you don't necessarily need that stuff, but the treasure chests are great in all the games that we're going to talk about. Skulls and tables and stuff like that. That stuff is all useful, even if you don't want to go so far as to build a whole dungeon. And so this Kingdom Pledge will get you a ton of dungeon stuff, as well as all of the stretch goals and stuff from the campaigns. So kind of heading down the screen here, we've got the current stretch goals here. We'll get into this, I assume, as we kind of scroll down. You can see the immersion level that is possible with this set is pretty amazing. I don't have anywhere near the painting ability to pull this off, or really anything. I could probably get a little close to it, but honestly, you prime this stuff and prime it black and dry brush it stone gray, you're a good chunk of the way there, and you could do that in a very short period of time. This is part of the new system. They're actually putting out a sewer set that actually comes with these watery kind of tile sets that are already textured and everything and colored for water, which is pretty cool. So we'll look at that. But then as you come down, it's showing you basically the clip system here. And this whole dungeon just clips together with these clips or a similar, a variation on it. Basically, they have half clips, they have clips for roofs and stuff. But basically, you just throw this stuff down on the table, snap it all together with these clips, and then you can kind of do it however you want. You could build rooms and keep them built, off to the side, or build them in advance of a gaming session. Or you can throw them back into the box and get them out next time and build the whole thing out. Or you could build it as you go, something like, Warhammer Quest or Shadows of Brimstone, where you're building the dungeon as you go. You could probably, easily do that with this system as well. Obviously, I tend to play a lot of solo dungeon crawl games too. This is another thing about me. And so for me, taking the time to maybe whip together a room or something on the fly isn't a problem. It might be a problem if if you have 5 people at your table, but the point is you get the flexibility, you get the option. So here they go into kind of the benefits of this system, and I have to largely agree with this. It is comparatively affordable, especially for the quality that you're going to get, which I'm hoping we'll see here. But from what I've seen, from everything that I've seen, and I wish I had my set, and if it comes during this campaign, I will do an unboxing, and I'll paint some of it and all that stuff. But from what I understand, it is very, very high quality. I think the King of Average, if you've seen his channel, I'm pretty sure that he just covered a an extensive unboxing of this system, and if you've watched that guy's content, and if you're out there, KOA, don't don't take it personally, but he's pretty finicky. Like, that dude, he wants what he wants, and if he doesn't get it, he is not shy about saying so. And he was very happy, it seemed like, with the system. And so there's, check out KOA's video if you get a chance, King of Average, because he also, he'll do an hour and a half long unboxing on something like this, which is awesome because he really gets into detail. But the affordability, you're covering a large space here for a relatively small amount of money compared to something like the Warlock tile system that's out there. The quality, like I said, as I understand it, they're pretty durable. They supposedly really do clip together pretty easily, and they've built to scale both of the kind of tiles and the walls to fit multiple games. Speaking of that, like I said, this is, if you're just looking at this campaign, it's mostly kind of geared towards Dungeons and Dragons or role-playing games, but I thought of just off the top of my head like 15 board games that this would easily work with. And I think that these games would fall into two categories, basically. You have your grid-based games, where you're moving on basically a 1-inch grid system or something close to that, where you could literally replicate the entire board. If you had enough of this stuff, you could build the board out of this stuff, essentially. So you're talking about stuff like Hero Quest, Warhammer Quest, Descent would probably work really well with this system. Sword and Sorcery would work pretty well. There's a little bit of weirdness there because they have these like areas. You might need to keep the tile next to you or the rulebook out just so you know what area you're in. But it would still work. I think Altar Quest, Mice and Mystics would probably work really well. Chronicles of Drunagor, which is a new game I haven't gotten yet. I actually tracked down a copy of that very recently, and it's basically in the mail. If you haven't seen that, it's pretty awesome. You can check out their Kickstarter, because it has this really interesting multi-tier kind of environment system that comes in the box that they're using game trays basically to put tiles on. To create levels in the dungeon and whatnot. But that game looks really awesome. But again, it's grid-based, so you could easily use the system for it. Shadows of Brimstone, you could probably get away with. The tiles for Shadows of Brimstone are very unique. And also the theme is very specific for Shadows of Brimstone. It's usually either an otherworld, like some, feudal Japan or the belly of the beast or something, or it's the old mine, So they do have a mine set, a mine room. I suppose if you bought enough of those mine rooms, and don't think I haven't thought about it, if you bought enough of those mine rooms, you could build a Shadows of Brimstone dungeon pretty easily out of it. But we'll get to all that too. But here they're just showing you, all the kind of, from my understanding at least, all of the scatter terrain comes in the stretch goals, and so you buy the dungeon, you get the scatter terrain as well, and they're just showing you how easy it is to kind of flip that stuff out. They also have this whole set of NPC miniatures. I think they had pets in one of the previous campaigns, and in this one they have the townsfolk. I'll be real honest, again, because I don't play D&D, I probably won't get that, but the great thing is that they give you the option in all these pledges. They tell you, yeah, you can have the townsfolk or you can get another room. And I'll probably just go with the room, to be honest. Something else that I don't know if they're calling it out in this campaign or not, but it's not just a fantasy theme for this system. They actually have a whole line of sci-fi terrain as well. And in the Dungeons and Lasers 2nd edition campaign, they were both available in that campaign. So if you think of something like Core Space, if you guys haven't seen or heard of Core Space, that game is awesome and requires a whole set of terrain, basically. It comes with a set of cardboard terrain and a map. And the terrain for that game is very good, especially for cardboard. I like it a lot. I'll probably cover that game on the channel extensively as well, because I don't think it gets enough love. But to build a 3D like cityscape out of this stuff for that game would be pretty awesome as well. But again, it looks like this campaign is mostly geared towards the fantasy, but just know that they do have a sci-fi set. Here they're calling out that you can build stories, multi-story gameplay systems, environments with this. And then here they talk about their rapid delivery system where we'll get into that at the bottom here, but I believe this stuff ships parts of it will ship early, basically. Okay, so coming down here, we've got basically the sets that are available. So they break these out into a couple of different categories. You've got core sets and you've got room sets, basically. So the new core set is the sewers core set. So you can see it comes with 200 parts, including walls, doorways, and all the clips and everything that you need, and then a ton of these, sorry, let me scroll down a little bit. Still getting used to this. A ton of these kind of watery floor tiles, basically. 200 parts in total. And they call out here that they are giving you the option to choose multiple colors, basically. So if you want one that looks more watery or looks kind of more putrid, you have the ability to choose that. And then they get into the new room sets. And so these are basically just smaller sets that are themed much more kind of specifically. So your core sets are going to be themed very generically. It's going to be the sewers. And then your room sets are going to be very specific on a particular type of room, basically. So here they've got the Royal Castle, which looks very cool. It's got these nice kind of marble floor tiles. They've got the wooden cottage, which has got, again, the kind of wood floors and walls. Very cool. They've got the Tudor mansion, which I don't know what the hell a Tudor mansion is. I know what the Tudors are. Obviously, I'm not an idiot, but I don't know architecturally what calls it out as Tudor, but it looks very kind of ornate, and with these kind of sculpted wall pieces and whatnot. And you can see these are all basically the same number of parts. It's 127 parts. So 2 of these sets basically makes up a little bit more than one of the core sets, basically, or the sewers core set at least. They've got the stone tower. So you get a much kind of craggier, crunchier, like granite texture kind of blocks, for your walls, and you get these nice arched gateways. And then they've got this city street set, which is really cool, but ultra specific and much more useful, I think, for a situation like this where you want to build a 3D town out of this stuff, not just a dungeon. So I probably won't buy into this system because I don't anticipate having that use case. But it's nice that it's there, and man, I can see if you were into D&D, I could see this stuff just being so awesome. Now, I say that, but then I immediately scroll down to the roof set, and I say to myself, oh, well, you got to get the roof set, right? And so here's your roofs that you have, your roof options that you have available in that set. So we talked about the 2 types of games that I think this would work with. And I talked about the grid games, but I don't think I talked about what I would call the area movement games that this would work with. And that would be stuff like Zombicide Black Plague and Arcadia Quest, where the board is really just a set of 2D rooms and then streets, right? And you're moving from room to room, basically. So something like this would work perfectly. Something like this right here would work perfectly for something like Black Plague. Because what you would do is you would just build the individual rooms and then leave open space, for the kind of floors. You might not even have to. You could also probably get away with just literally just building the rooms, and just put them onto the tiles even. Just build them individually instead of as a big piece. The other thing that this will let you do that I think is pretty cool is because you're just moving from one large area to another. It's not granular movement like a grid-based game. You could, if you wanted to, you could even scale those types of games up or down with this system. So you could say to yourself, okay, so I want to play Zombicide, but I want to play it on a really big-ass board. I just want a big board. Like, I'm done screwing around with these little tiles. I want it big. I got a big table. I want it bigger. You buy enough of this stuff, build your rooms, which in the core game of Zombicide Black Plague are a fixed, width. You could build them as long as you could scale them up. You could build them as big as you want. You could also scale them down. You could buy this system and say, I want to play Zombicide, but I want to be able to just keep it off on the side of my table. I have one of those game toppers. They also have a Kickstarter going right now. It's amazing. I highly recommend it. Maybe I'll cover that too. I don't know. But I have a game topper, and it's pretty big. It's 4x6, I want to say, 4 feet by 6 feet. And so it is big enough to set up more than one game. Particularly if I could take a game like Zombicide Black Plague and scale it down a little bit, and build it. Because once you snap this stuff together, it's movable. Like, you can't chuck it across the room, but you can slide it around or pick it up and get your hands under it and move it to another table or to the side of the table or something. And especially if you scaled it down a little bit, just build the rooms a little smaller than they come on the standard tiles. I can imagine getting this and having it just in the corner of my game topper while I play something else on the kind of main thoroughfare there. The other thing that would be really cool with something like Zombicide with this is, have you ever had that thing in Zombicide Black Plague where you have so many goddamn zombies in a space that they just don't even fit? They're just spilling over into the nether regions, off of the tiles. You're never going to have that problem with this system because, again, if you have too many, you could do it on the fly. You could build it to a certain set, and then if you say, oh man, I got to put 10 more goddamn walkers on this set spot right here, just, build it out. Put an extra couple of floor tiles in there and snap the walls on. I've seen this stuff put together. It seems to be pretty easy. You could almost do it on the fly. So really cool, lots of options for games, not only that are grid-based where it's obvious that they would work, like Descent, but stuff like Arcadia Quest and Black Plague, where they're more kind of area-based movement games, and they just play very fast and loose with the space, and so they lend themselves to this type of system. But kind of getting back to the campaign, this is the Fantasy Core set, so this is one of the sets that I ordered. You can see it comes with 304 parts, so it's a big set. Comes with a ton of walls and a ton of floor tiles, a ton of both floor clips and wall clips. I don't know what these pins are. They must be for filling in the holes because, the way that this system snaps together is basically the individual floor tiles have, and wall tiles, they have these little holes in the center, and that's how you snap the wall to it. So this must be for filling those in. But this is one of the sets that I ordered and I'm hoping to get soon, so that I can show you guys. And this is, to me, probably, just because of the sheer number of parts, the best value in the whole campaign. 304 parts is well over kind of twice the number of parts that come in 2 of these Stone Tower sets, or 2 of these room sets. And if you remember, the Sewers core set only comes with 200 parts, so it's considerably more pieces. I don't know if that translates to more actual kind of space on your table covered, because maybe those pieces are bigger, I don't know. But I feel like this is a fundamental set that if you're into dungeon crawls, you're probably going to want and need this kind of basic fantasy core set to as the basis of your dungeon. And so the idea would be that you would build this fantasy core set, you would build this basic dungeon or parts of it, and then off of a chamber, you have the Cursed Cathedral, and there's a room that is the Cursed Cathedral. This is one of their previous fantasy room sets. Or you'd have the Dwarven Mine. This is the set that I was talking about that would work really well with Shadows of Brimstone, I think. If you bought enough of these rooms, you can see it's mine themed essentially. It's got the rocky walls and it's got the kind of timber kind of doorways that are just like the ones that come in the Doorways to Darkness set in Shadows of Brimstone. So this thing is like tailor-made basically for that system, and if you bought enough of them, you could totally build out your dungeon with it. It also comes with these really interesting half walls, which I've seen people really take to. It seems like part of a problem that people have with these systems in general is just when you have these high walls, it's hard to see what's going on, and it's hard to get your hand in there to move guys around. And so they built this system of half walls that are literally half the size of the tall, long, double-sided wall, and so they just don't take up as much space, and they're not as high, so they're easier to see over and they're easier to kind of maneuver around in. I believe I got this set and the Cursed Cathedral in my kind of package, as well as one of the torture chambers. Which is another fantasy set, which you can see, like the walls, they have all these nice touches put into them. These have skeletons, kind of dead torture victims snapped into the walls and stuff, so that's super cool. You got the Hall of Heroes. This is like a really dwarven themed look to me. This looks like, this reminds me of like, literally of Dungeons and Dragons, like Dragonlance or something like that, like of the dwarven, or Moria. This looks kind of very Moria to me, from the Lord of the Rings, with these kind of dwarven, runes built into the floors and the walls. Then you've got the Warlock Altar, your kind of spellcasters, kind of sanctum. Very cool. These doors look really cool, and I want to say that there's like a portal wall that used to come with these. Maybe it still does, and it's just not captured in this screenshot. I don't see it in the stuff here, but they do some really cool stuff with doors and walls in this system that I really like. And then you get down into the miniatures, the Townfolk starter set. And again, they call out, hey, we're not forcing you to buy the Townfolk. You can just trade it out for a room. But it does come with a ton of Townsfolk, and as they call it here, they are going to be giving you more Townsfolk as stretch goals. So from that perspective, you might want to get the Townsfolk set if you're really trying to like maximize the value of this Kickstarter, because if you don't, then you might not get these stretch goals. I'm not sure how those will be packaged. I guess they would actually be packaged in the stretch goals box, because the way these guys, they'll send you the stretch goals in a separate box. But you get all sorts of pretty cool Townsfolk style miniatures, and these do have value for some board games. Most of the games that I listed, they will have you interacting with NPCs. Descent is a good example, but they'll just give you a shitty little 2D token to represent them, and now you could actually pull out the innkeeper or the nobleman or a child, etc. and so forth. And there's a really great selection of guys here. Another game, I keep thinking of games that this would work with. Arena the Contest is another game that this would work really well with. That's the game that I thought of when I saw this system, actually. I'm going to do a video on Arena the Contest. I don't have it yet. I late pledged Tanaris Adventures, but I've played quite a bit of it on Tabletop Simulator, and that game is really cool. And this system would work beautifully for that. But you're even getting these mounted guards and characters as well, which is really cool. And just a bunch of kind of warriors and such. So a pretty cool miniature set overall, and I think there is value here for a board gamer. You just kind of have to think outside the box and try to think about those games where you might be interacting with a particular spot on the board or a token or something instead of a miniature as like a cost savings, you know. And they don't give you the miniature for the innkeeper because they're trying to, you know, save money, so they just give you a little token. And they're trying to keep the cost of the game down. But if you're going to back this thing, you might as well get all these cool things and then proxy them in and replace those types of tokens with them. Then you get into the 5e campaign. I'm not really going to get into this because I don't know anything about 5e or Dungeons and Dragons at all, really. Dungeons and Dragons has always been a little too abstract for me. A system like this would go a long way towards fixing that. And so maybe in the future I will get into it because I'll have this system. But in an environment where you're just like literally pad and paper, I just like having something in front of me, you know, like a board or like the terrain. It just helps me visualize, and kind of immersion is a big thing that I'm looking for in my board games, especially my dungeon crawls, which is another reason that I'm excited about this campaign, because it is jacking the immersion through the roof when you get this stuff painted up and onto the table and you're looking at an actual 3D world, essentially. So don't know a whole lot about 5e, but won't say no to getting a copy of it with my pledge. And then you get the dragon set. They call this, if you get all 7 of them, they call it the Dragon's Lair pledge, I believe. These dragons look really cool. Again, a little more valuable to the role player than the board gamer, just because, you know, you probably have dragons with your game. But even then, Arena the Contest, the original box set of that, it came with 2 dragons if you bought everything, if you got the legendary box and everything, and the whole like all-in pledge, it came with 2 dragons. But there are like 6 or 7 dragons in that game system, and they're kind of like D&D, like color coded, you know, like red dragon, there's a blue dragon, there's a bone dragon. And so if you didn't back Tanaris Adventures and spend $600 on it like I did, to get all the dragons and to get them pre-painted and everything, this would be perfect for proxying in for those Arena of the Contest dragons. And they are really, they do look very cool. And there's one in particular that I'm going to show you that just looks absolutely incredible. This one is really cool. He's got, I don't even know how many heads there, 4 or 5 heads. And then you've got the Xeno Dragon, which is a xenomorph from the Aliens franchise turned into a dragon, which is pretty freaking awesome. And then it looks like they have a new kind of Eastern themed dragon here, Orijon the Denouncer. Kind of looks like the Shoryu from Forbidden Fortress, which I have that miniature. I still haven't assembled it. I've assembled the head and nothing else. Because on top of being grumpy, I am lazy, guys. Super duper lazy. And I have 2 kids and a wife and a full-time job. So I don't have an unlimited amount of time for this stuff. But it looks like that's pretty much it. Although I know that there's a ton of add-ons kind of down the line here. Here you can see some reviews. I don't believe I've seen this one. I've definitely watched the King of Average review. Check that out. I like him. Bill Allen, I think I watched this one too. This was an interesting review as well. Love on Tabletop. These guys cover all sorts of great stuff. And then you get back into the pledges, and this just gives you a visual representation of what you're getting, and they're showing you kind of the size of table that you can cover. So, and this is where the value proposition really comes in. Like, this is a pretty big dungeon. This is a multi-room, 2 foot, looks like 2 foot by 2 foot. I don't know how they are capturing this measurement exactly, but this is a decent sized dungeon. This you can do something with this. And it's showing you kind of how you get there in terms of what pieces it comes with. And it comes with all those stretch goals. The stretch goals are really cool too. It's just a ton of scatter terrain. Maybe we'll see that as we go down. And then so as you kind of ramp up, you just get, more and more flexibility and more size. This is huge. This is probably... this pledge is probably the sweet spot if you want to be able to play something like Descent or even Warhammer Quest. You might be able to get away with this pledge. Warhammer Quest is just like, when I say Warhammer Quest, I'm talking about Warhammer Quest 1995. This isn't going to apply to everybody, but I spent years tracking down a mint edition copy of not just the core game, but also both expansions. So in that game in particular, the rooms are these blocky, they're very kind of, like squares and rectangles. And so it's like they designed it for it. Why would they design a terrain system for a 30-year-old out-of-print game? I don't know. But even Warhammer Quest Cursed City, which annoyingly is also out of print, despite the fact that it just came out a month ago, this would work really well with that too. And this would probably be enough to get you there. I mean, this is pretty big. This is a lot of rooms, it looks like. This is the one that I'm currently signed up for because I'm a crazy person, and I want to be sure that I have enough to do something like Arena the Contest, and to basically to build the board out of these tiles or get close. And this city pledge seems like it's probably going to be pretty close to doing that, especially with the pledge that I already bought. So the pledge that I bought just the other day was this pledge basically on their late pledge. It was the village pledge. So it came with a core set, 3 rooms, a dragon, the stretch goals, and then I added on the stretch goals from the first campaign and something else I don't recall. And so this is a good start, but I just wanted to be able to spend a little bit of money and just see, do I really want to go all in on this? Because this idea of having a 3D dungeon that is actually usable and storable is kind of like one of my grail dream projects in board gaming. And this is the system that I think is going to get me there. And I just wanted to be sure before I pledge for the Kingdom Pledge, which is probably what I'm going to end up with. Right now, I'm at the City Pledge. But, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, you know what, if you want to do this, I've got kids, they love this stuff. They would love looking at this stuff. And my son, whether he wants to or not, is going to be playing a whole hell of a lot of dungeon crawlers with me as he grows up. He's 6 right now, and you'll probably be seeing him on the channel too. We're going to do Grumpy and Son and review some kids type games like Zombie Kids, for example. But so I've got kids and years of them living in my house under my iron-fisted rule. And so I've got a captive audience for dungeon crawling. And so while this is good, especially compared to in combination with what I already have coming, this I'm pretty damn sure is going to cover basically any game that I want to build. This looks big enough to build like Hero Quest, like the board. There's a video out there. I don't remember the creator. I'm such a terrible person. But I just watched like an hour-long video of somebody I think it was on tabletop. It was either on tabletop or associated to on tabletop. But they built the entire HeroQuest board out of this stuff, and so it is possible. It is an insane amount of work. I'm sure I would probably never actually get it done. But the other thing too is if you're going to do this and if you're going to go big and do it once. You know what I mean? Like get it to your house, prime it all at the same time, and dry brush it all at the same time, and paint it all at the same time. Like that's my philosophy on it, anyways. And so if I get my set prior to the end of this campaign, and if I really like it, I'll probably up my pledge and just be done with it. One and done. Because here you're getting three of the core sets. So if you get 3 of the dungeons, that's 900 pieces right there. 12 rooms, all this stuff, and then all the add-ons that we're going to get into. So an incredible amount of content. And then we have the add-ons here. So you've got the miniatures. Oh, no, sorry. And then these are the other 2 pledges. The miniatures pledge, if you just want the townsfolk, and the dragons, if you just want a bunch of dragons. And not a bad price for that many dragons and for the quality that they appear to be. And then we get into the add-ons. And you've got all sorts of cool stuff here. So you've got the Wooden Town Stair set. This is so awesome. I love stuff like this. I love multi-level environments in my games. I don't have enough of that right now. That's why I'm backing this. But I love the idea of it. And Core Space does get into that a little bit. And it's really cool. You've got the stairs set, the stone stairs set. Then you've got the Townsfolk starter set. You've got Nubble, who is 17 pounds by himself. He is on a 50 millimeter base, so it's a big creature. Nax Rammus is the name of the raid in World of Warcraft that this guy reminds me of, because he looks like patchwork. Now it's all coming back to me, guys, from World of Warcraft. Which is another thing that I might cover on the channel. I'm playing World of Warcraft Classic with a dedicated group of friends, and we've just been kind of, once a week, we just kind of grind through dungeons and as we're leveling through the old world and having a great time. And I could see myself doing a video about kind of why I like Classic so much more than the current version of the game. Feel free to throw stones at me in the comments if that angers you. But this miniature is expensive. I don't know why it's so expensive. They may have inflated this to drive people to early pledge. I don't know, but it's pretty big. It's almost 4 inches tall. So if you're interested, snap that early bird on, even if you're just thinking about it, just so that you get it. And then you can buy more of the stretch goals. You get street lamps, which are just so cool. Balustrades, incredible. Battlements, so that you can actually fire down on dudes with your crossbow between you do Helm's Deep here, basically. You get the Woodhaven Trims pack. I'm not sure. Various trims for buildings and for building stories. So this must be to cover up or to kind of bling out your multi-story buildings so that they don't kind of just look like blocks, set on top of each other. You can get more core sets, more rooms, and then you can get the bridge. You got the dragons, individual dragons you can get to. You've got the animal companions from 2nd edition, I believe. Again, there are definitely games that I play like Descent, etc., where they would usually give you a token to represent something like a pet, and so I could see this being useful. Maybe not 34 pounds useful for board gamers, but might have some use. I definitely recommend that if you're going to back this thing, get the first and second edition stretch goals, because they are filled to the brim with this scatter terrain, doors and pillars, and even some of the stuff that's built into the other kind of, you know, pledges up there, like stairs and such, and the bridge. Like this one, this is £17 for all this crap, including a bridge. Here you've got just a bridge for £9. Why would you buy this instead of this? That'd be crazy. Then they've got themed closed doors for the various themes. Here's where you get into the sci-fi stuff, like I was telling you about. You can see here they reference these doors for sci-fi, which is strange because I don't know that they have the rest of the sci-fi stuff in this campaign. It's a little bit odd, but... And then they've got this set of functional doors. This is interesting. They've done a much better job of this in this campaign than they did in the previous campaign, I think, of calling out what these are. Because I saw a lot of comments, and I myself, I purchased these with my... It's the other thing that I added on to my late pledge. And I thought it came with a whole new set of arches as well as the doors. It doesn't. It just comes with the insert. So just be aware of that. But they just snap into the doors that you already have. So still totally valuable, but just not exactly what I thought I was going to get. Lord Bulbo, I don't know, some kind of weird miniature. I don't really know what he is. Pillars, love these types of things for stuff like there's so many games that this scatter stuff would be useful for. Gloomhaven, Frosthaven. I would have listed both of those games as playable with this system, but those are hex-based instead of square-based. You might be able to, I mean, you could do whatever you want with your own game. You could definitely fake it, but these would be useful either way because there is that type of covering terrain in that game. Stairs, piles of connectors. These second edition connectors, I believe this comes with... Yeah, I think this comes with the half connectors, which are nice for the exterior of your dungeon because you're going to have connectors on those walls as well. And if you have just the regular connectors, then they're gonna bleed out onto your table and look kind of weird. And then I think these are possibly multi-story connectors. Yeah, well, it says perfect for those multi-story constructions, so I'd assume so. And then they sell you the half walls separately as well. So, rapid delivery. Products marked as rapid delivery can benefit from our rapid delivery. How many times are we going to use that word in one sentence? Which ensures that your items will be shipped to you after closing your pledge. Oh, wow. Stretch goals unlocked as part of this campaign will be sent in a second shipment wave for a flat cost once manufactured. Okay. Or you can choose to get everything wave 2. So... a lot of this stuff, and the reason that they're doing this is because this is all the stuff from the previous campaigns, or at least a lot of it is. It's either from the previous campaigns or it's already manufactured, obviously. But you can see all this stuff has the rapid delivery associated to it. This stuff doesn't. This is all the new stuff. But if we go back up here, let's go way back up. Sorry, all the dragons, or most of the dragons at least, it looks like, yeah, all the dragons have the rapid delivery, and most of the rooms and the core sets do as well. So you can actually get this stuff quickly, like now. Not now. That'd be crazy. That would require teleportation. But soon, not in a year. So this date, August 22, 2022, this is for everything. This is the second wave included. That's very cool. I'll have to think about that. They really need to get me my order so I can make that decision on if I want to back it all. This talks about how they're friendly to various regions. I don't mean to sound disinterested. I just live in the U.S., so I don't know what to think about this. They talk about shipping, and here's where we see the kind of cost differences. Okay, so right off the bat, you're paying the same amount to ship the miniatures only pledge as you are to ship the kingdom pledge. The miniatures only pledge weighs 1 pound. The kingdom pledge weighs 18 pounds. So here's another place where your cost is you're saving a lot, it looks like. This is an estimate. I don't know how accurate this is. Oh, I see. Okay, I see what they're doing. I kind of don't. What the hell does this even mean? So you've got the rapid delivery, and then you've got rapid delivery is charged per pledge, not per backer. This is a little bit confusing. I don't know what this number here means. 1500, 1800. Is that supposed to be dollars? So the rapid delivery stuff would cost 17 and then 21 for the rest from the village pledge. Not 100% sure what this means, how this is broken out. It's a little confusing. They could do a little bit better job of spelling that out. Maybe they do in an update or something, or in the FAQ. And then we can see their timetable. So the campaign just started. It ends on the 19th. Door-to-door delivery within 60 days of the close of the pledge manager, which opens on the 3rd of June. So that's great. So you're getting this stuff probably, you back it now, you're probably getting it by the end of the summer. Maybe not quite that soon, but you're getting it this year for sure. So really cool. They talk about their refund policy. They all have this kind of similar policy. This is nice. They will refund 100% of your pledge up to 14 days after the campaign ends, and then they can only refund 80% because of the fees and Kickstarter fees and stuff. But that's pretty cool. If you did change your mind kind of in the short term, you could get all your money back. But that's it. This is an insanely long video. I apologize, maybe. I don't know. Isn't it good that we're being thorough here? You can see in the time that I've been in here, the funding has at least doubled. It's up to $242,000 now. No updates yet, but let's look at the FAQs real quick and see if they talk about that shipping stuff, because that was really annoying. They don't, but hopefully they'll get into it. So yeah, that's my grumpy review of the Dungeons and Lasers 3rd edition Kickstarter. My grumpy preview, I should say, not review. I don't review things that I don't own, obviously. And this is looking pretty cool to me. And really the main thing that I want to call out here that I think Archon could do a better job of is that this is not just for people who play D&D, like real nerds. Like I'm like Johnny Cool Guy. I play board games. I'm not like in my basement. Well, I am in my basement actually. That's problematic. I guess I am playing with little miniatures and stuff. All right, so yeah, I'm also a giant nerd. But this it's not just for Dungeons and Dragons. This can add immersion to tons of games. And if you're like me and the only types of games that you consistently buy, keep, and play, I buy all sorts of games. The ones I play are the dungeon crawlers. And if you're in the same position, this is probably worth a look, because I think you could really have that holy shit, your friends come over to play Zombicide and you have a 3D board set up, they are going to shit their pants. It's going to be amazing. So just think about that. All right, well, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for checking this out. If anybody watches this entire thing, I will be amazed and gratified and maybe a little turned on. Maybe. We'll see. But this is the Grumpy Meeple signing off.